I'm Dustin with Kruger Instruments and Kruger's Training Academy. With this video, we're going to go through the ASSE, IAPMO, ANSI Series 5000 2022 version for the one hose test procedure for ASSE 1056, which is the spill resistant vacuum breaker. If you're using a different procedure in your class that you're in or in the field, be sure to check out our other videos. We got different videos for all the different test procedures. For the SVB, you have a few components. You have test cock, just the test cock. Most other preventers, they have like test cock 1, test cock 2, 3, 4. This one just has one, so you just call it the test cock. And then you have a vent screw. So you basically just remove the screw to it. It's kind of like a test cock, but there's no valve on it. And then there's two shutoffs. Shutoff 2 is the outlet, shutoff 1 is the inlets. The first test, or first procedure in the test, it's not clearly outlined on the sheet, but it's notify, identify, inspect, observe. Make sure you say those words. If you're in a class and they have a slightly different way to say it, like, hey, I'm Dustin, I'm shutting off your water to test the backflow, be sure to say those words. It is a critical part of the test to notify the customer that you're doing these things. The next one is to flush the test cocks. So you open and close the test cock, and then you do have to flush the bleed screw. So you open and close the bleed screw. You don't want to open it all the way because it'll totally go flying because you got line pressure, and then it makes a mess, and then it's really hard to find the screw. So you just kind of turn it, get a little bit of water to close it. One of the tests, it's not actually on the sheet. It's kind of weird because it is on the other ones, but you want to install your gauge adapters. For this prep stand, to have a straight on test adapter would actually be really hard to attach the test kit. So we go ahead and use a 90-degree quick connect fitting. You can get these from either Midwest or most other gauge manufacturers. They sell these custom test cocks. In the field, it will actually a lot of times be set up exactly like this because they come out of the ground for irrigation and things. So you might need these 90-degree test adapters. Next, you attach your test kit. The test procedures say to open and close all of your control valves, so bypass high and low control valves. We're utilizing a 2-valve test kit. This is the Kruger Instruments TK2, but it's a 2-valve version. It is ASSE 1064 compliant as far as accuracy and components. But if you're in the class, you might have a 5-valve kit. If you're using a 5-valve kit, make sure all of the other valves are closed. If they're open, it can affect your test. Then you open your high bleed valve, close your low bleed, attach your high hose to the test cock. When you pressurize your kit, since your high bleed is open, when you open this test cock, you are going to get a bunch of water shooting out. So make sure it's not pointed at your friend or at yourself or at your pants. Once you bleed it off, that's the way it should work. For the SVB, since we're doing a air inlet test and it is kind of hard to see without it, when you're bleeding your test cock, you go ahead and put water on the air inlet. If you forget, a lot of times you want to restart the test. You should actually have this water up here. It's not clearly listed on the test procedures, but that is what you would want to do. You actually get your first reading at this point. If you notice, the line pressure gauge is reading 45, I'm getting. So on your test report, you write down the static line pressure as 45. Now you're going to begin the test. Close shutoff 2, close shutoff 1. This is actually your second test. I know we didn't really do much, we just shut the shutoffs. If your gauge does not start dropping, like your line pressure gauge, that means that shutoff 2 is tight. It's not flowing through the valve and going out the other side. So we go ahead and say shutoff 2, close tight. Now we're going to do the check valve test. Make sure your gauge is lined up with your vent valve here, your vent screw. And we're just going to take out the vent screw. You want to make it drop pretty slowly. You don't want to really bang it out. You might actually cause like a water hammer to open the relief valve prematurely. I'm getting 4.0. So that's your check valve reading. So you say 4.0, closed tight. You're also testing the shutoff 1, being that no water is coming out of here while you're testing it. Basically, if there was a shutoff 1 leak, the water would continue running. I can simulate that here for a second. So basically, if you're doing the test and that's what you see or something similar, that means you have a shutoff 1 leak. For ASSE, the 5000 or IAPMO, ANSI, they say you actually have to fail the valve. There are no additional diagnostics you can do. For some of the other books, you have like a bleed off valve arrangement. You can also use your high bleed to compensate. But for ASSE, they say you have to not do that. So one way you could do it with a 2-valve kit, if you're allowed to in the field, use your high bleed to compensate. You want this to be just a slight drip, and you still actually get the same number. Was it 3.9, 4.0? But again, for ASSE, if you're in the IAPMO class or something similar, if that happens, you actually do have to fail the valve. If it's happening just a little tiny bit, you might have not shut the shutoff all the way, so you want to just kind of make sure the shutoff's completely tight. So being that water did not come out, we go ahead and mark shutoff 1 as tight. Next, we're going to do the tricky one, the air inlet opening. You maintain the center of the test kit level with the bleed screw hole that does not have the bleed screw in it anymore. And then you're going to open your high bleed and get the air inlet opening. If you have a 5-valve kit or one of the other kits that has little like plastic, I guess rubber, plastic hoses attached to the bleed offs, you do want to make sure the end of that hose is also level with everything, because once you open that high bleed, it creates like a vacuum if it's too low. Some people try to like tie them off to the ground. You should, in my opinion, have it level. Doesn't clearly state on the test procedures though, so you might be okay. But once you're ready to do it, you open your high bleed a very tiny bit. You're watching for water to come out of the bleed screw or water to move on the top. So bang, it just opened 2.0. If you notice, it keeps dropping. So it's open and you have 1.6 now. That's not the opening point. You get it when it first opens. So air inlet opening point, 2.0. There is an opened fully test. The ASSE one for this particular valve does not have an open fully test. The way you would test if it opened fully, you just remove the hose and then see if the relief valve opened all the way. Some of your classes might ask you to observe that. Some might not, but for us, we are going to say it opened fully after we remove the hose. Next, you want to basically pack up, close your test cock, replace the bleed screw. It says restore or replace canopy first. Next, what you do is they say restore to pre-test condition, meaning, and I've seen this on the exam personally, it's kind of like a gotcha, but not really. Sometimes when you go up to test the valve, the shutoff's already closed, or shutoff 2 anyway. So when you restore to pre-test condition, you open shutoff 1. Shutoff 1's never going to be closed in the pre-test condition because otherwise, like, you couldn't test the valve. But shutoff 2 might be. If it's closed when you get there, you leave it closed. You don't want to flood everybody by opening the valve. For us, it was open when we got here, so we'll go ahead and open shutoff 2. So anyway, we have the check valve reading, the air inlet reading, and both the shutoffs in and open fully. For ASSE, IAPMO, the check valve does have to hold more pressure than the air inlet, they were saying. So say your air inlet was 7 and your check valve was 5. Technically that fails the test. It says like the check valve did not do what it was supposed to because it doesn't actually spill resist anymore. If the check valve's differential is less than the relief valve, or than the air inlet opening, it could actually still flood everybody, so it's not a spill resistant anymore, meaning it would fail the test. Some of the other books, they say that it does pass, you just get the air inlet and the check valve. I would defer to the instructor and proctors that you're working with. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe. If you made it this far, it really helps the channel. Comment with any questions, or if you see me mess something up, definitely let me know. But anyway, appreciate you tuning in, and feel free to check out our other videos as well.